This warfare will be both within and without, within with the innumerable natural corruptions which remain, with the temptations of Satan, with the suggestions of his own wicked heart. And without, he will frequently be engaged in warfare, wrestling not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. The peculiar case of Abram leads me to remark that sometimes the believer will be engaged in warfare, not so much on his own account as on the account of erring brethren, who, having gone into ill company, are by and by carried away captive. It was no quarrel of Abram's, it was Lot's matter. Lot had gone to Sodom, instead of standing in the separated path of the true believer. He had joined himself unto the world. And when evil days came, Lot was carried away captive with the rest. Abram cared little enough for the king of Sodom. I do not suppose he would have taken his sword from the sheath for all the men who dwelt in Admah or Zeboim, but for Lot's sake, seeing him in ill company and in danger, he draws the sword. And sometimes, brethren, when we see those who are God's servants putting themselves into alliance with evil systems, we find them carried away captive and taken where we believe their hearts would never go, and we feel compelled to come out and draw the sword against the common enemy of Christ and of all his people. And though they may heartily wish that we would let them alone in their sin, and let them be quiet in their evil union, we see into what spiritual capacity it letteth them. And we cannot be silent, but must draw the sword when conscience and when God demand it, and never sheath it until God's work is done. However, this rarely occurs. For the most part, the Christian spends his sword's edge upon his own spiritual foes, and truly we have enough of these. What with pride, sloth, lust, what with the archenemy of souls, and his insinuations and blasphemies, what with the lust of the eye, the pleasures of this world, and the pride of life, what with enemies who come upon us even from providence in the shape of temptations arising out of our trials and our vocations. We ought to carry our sword always drawn, and, above all, we should ever carry the shield of faith and take the weapon of all prayer. Observe that this war is won against powerful odds. The 4 kings mentioned in this chapter were all great sovereigns. From what little we can glean from profane history, they appear to have been very mighty monarchs. And they must have been assisted by very valiant armies to have smitten the giants whose names are mentioned in the opening verses. They appear to have carried away the 5 kings of the plain with the greatest possible ease. Yet here is Abram, who has little more than 300 of his own armed servants at his call, and yet he ventures against the embattled thousands of the kings of nations. Such is the warfare of the Christian. He has to contend against foes far too many for him. He is like the worm that is to arise and thrash the mountain. He is little and despised, and if he measures his own strength, he will find it to be perfect weakness. And yet, for all this, he anticipates a victory, and like Abram, hastens to the holy war. Carefully notice that as it is a battle of fearful odds, it is one which is carried on in faith. Abram did not venture to this fight with confidence in his own strength or reliance upon his own bow, but he went in the name of the Lord of hosts. Faith was Abram's continual comfort. Sometimes his faith failed, as it will in the best, but still the spirit of the man's life was a simple confidence upon God, whom he had not seen, but whose voice he cheerfully obeyed. The Christian is to carry on his warfare in faith. You will be vanquished, indeed, if you attempt it by any other method. Brethren, there is not a sin in your heart which will not master you if you seek to fight it by resolutions of your own faith in the precious blood of Christ must win you the victory. And the world will laugh you to scorn if you assail it with any other weapons than such as Calvary will furnish you. This is the victory which overcometh the world, even our faith. And if you ask faith what weapon she uses, her reply is, they overcame through the blood of the Lamb. Live near to Jesus Christ, rest upon the power of his atonement and the prevalence of his plea, and then go forward against every enemy without and every foe within, and you shall be more than a conqueror. In this great battle, carried on by faith, Abram had a right given him from God, and the promise of God's presence virtually in that right. What business had Chedorlaomer to come unto Canaan? Had not Jehovah said to Abram, "All this land will I give unto thee"? Therefore he and his confederate monarchs were neither more nor less than intruders. For 13 years they might have exercised sovereignty over the cities of the plain, but those cities and everything around them belonged virtually to Abram. It is true they would have laughed at the very idea of Abram's claiming the whole land of Canaan, but that claim was nevertheless valid in the court of heaven, and the patriarch by right divine was heir of all the land. Christian, you are, by virtue of a covenant made with you to drive out every sin, as an intruder. Sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. You are to drive out every error, for you are a servant of the truth. And the truth alone has a right to live and a right to exist. And in fighting this lawful warfare, you may expect that the right arm of the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, will be bared that he may show himself strong on behalf of all those who are valiant for his truth and for his name. Fear not, the battle is not yours, but God's. You go not a warfare at your own charges, and though hell may roar as it will, and earth be all in arms, and your own heart may fail you, and your flesh when you take counsel with it may make you feel a coward, yet say, "In the name of God will I destroy them, go forward and conquer." They compass me about like bees, said David, yeah, like bees they compass me about. But in the name of God will I destroy them, and what David did you shall do through David's God. Yet more, the Christian is engaged in a conflict in which he walks by faith and leans upon God, but yet it is a conflict in which he uses all means, calls in all lawful assistance, and exerts himself with all vigor and speed. Abram did not sit still and say, "Well, God will deliver Lot, he has promised to keep his servants as the apple of his eye." No, that is not faith, that is foolish presumption. Abram did not take his time about it and go marching leisurely after the foe, nor did he go without the assistance of his friends, Aner and Eshcol and Mamre.